back to the YouTube channel Pro Enzo Vids, and this is my round 14 NRL tips for 2023. And yeah, this is the week that happens on Origin round. So obviously on Wednesday tomorrow night it's the State of Origin game 1, and obviously on Friday night and to Sunday it will be NRL again. So there might be some players will back up, some players may not, but we'll see who backs up and who doesn't. This week there's three teams that have the bye. Manly, Knights and Eels will have the bye this weekend, so yeah, lucky for them, I guess. So we'll see how the rest of the teams do cope with players backing up and if they don't. But round 14 should be a good round, I hope. Should be a big round ahead with some of the players that are playing and some of the decisions that have been made by clubs. So it does shape up to be a good round of footy. But before I do start, please be sure to like this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. The goal of my YouTube channel is to get to 3,500 subscribers on the channel. I know that's still a couple of subs away, but that is the main goal for this channel, to get to 3,500 subscribers by a realistic goal of mid-June to maybe late June now. I know I said early June at the start to maybe mid-June, but probably mid-June to late June now is the goal for myself getting to 3,500 subscribers. But without further ado, time to get into my round 14 tips. On to the first game of round 14. It is the Tigers taking on the Raiders at Campbelltown Stadium, 8 PM Friday night footy. Both sides have come off, I guess, an extra 2 points, with the Tigers having the bye last week and the Raiders coming off a win against the Rabbitohs, which was a game I was at. So yeah, Canberra were pretty good in that game and they did well enough to win. So to back up that same form into this game, have to wait and see. But looking at both sides, for the Tigers, there's just one change for the Tigers. Joe Ofahengaue, look, obviously he's at Parramatta now, so he's been out. And that means Fanua Pole has gotten his opportunity to start lock full time. Alex Seyfarth coming into the side on the bench. Apasai Coruscant has been named to play despite this game being played just 48 hours of Origin. Backup hooker Jake Simpkin is on the bench, while Tim Sheens has Dane Laurie and Brent Naden in the reserves for now. And as for Canberra, the backline has reshuffled a little bit because Jarrod Croker's actually been rested for this game because they want to celebrate his 300th game in Canberra, which is against the Warriors next week, which I think is a fair call. So that means Alba Hopewadi now starts in the centres and Nick Hotrick starts from the bench to the wing, and he'll start. So fair enough. And Jordan Rapana has been named to play despite leaving the field with a HIA last week against Souths. And Hudson Young has been named to back up so far from Origin. So if he does back up, he'll start in the back row. And obviously Corey Harawira-Naera will be out for a month because of his scary seizure. So that's also the right decision to be made. But who am I tipping in this game? I will tip the West Tigers at home. I think Tigers, have a bit of a point to prove, it will be too good. So Tigers by, let's go 6, and first try scorer, I'm liking Stafatoa. On to the next game now. Warriors and the Dolphins are taking on each other on 3 PM Saturday afternoon at Go Media Stadium, which is a new name for Mount Smart Stadium, and far out, don't like it one bit. It's I get it, it's their sponsor, it's one of their sponsors, and obviously it's been promoted to now their actual stadium name, but it doesn't sit well with me. I think Mount Smart's always been how I've called it. It's a bit like how Manly changed their ground from Brookvale Oval to Lottoland. It's just like that. It doesn't sit well with me. But anyway, Warriors and the Dolphins. I'll go for the Warriors team first. 3 big inclusions for Andrew Webster's side, led by hooker Wade Egan, who has been named to start after missing round 13 with a calf injury. He is a straight swap for Freddie Larsick, who failed at HIA last week and won't play. Dylan Walker is back from a toe injury, while Mitch Barnett will play his first game since round 3, which is awesome to hear because Mitch Barnett is now back and had a really serious injury with his neck, so that's great to see he's back. And that means Tom Ale and Demetric Sifikula drop out of the 17. Yep. And for the Dolphins, Hamisa Tabuai-Fidow and Tom Gilbert are being rested given the 2-day turnaround from Wednesday's series opener and the travel from Adelaide to Auckland, with no injury concerns arising out of round 13. Wayne Bennett 6 with the same 17-man squad that down the Dragons. Yep, fair enough. Should be a good game, this one, but I will be tipping the Warriors here. I think the Warriors in New Zealand should be a bit too good for the Dolphins, and obviously Dolphins have a few out because of Origin, and obviously if the Warriors getting Walker and Barnett back is huge. So I'm expecting a good Warriors performance here, and Metcalf at 6 again. I like that. So Warriors by 10. And I reckon first try scorer will be Dallin Watene-Lesniak. I think the Warriors will bounce back after they lost to the Broncos. Okay, on to the next game now on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. It is the Titans taking the Rabbitohs at Seabus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. Titans and Rabbitohs. Look, Titans have had a couple of losses as of recent. Obviously, that loss against the Bulldogs was their last loss, and that was extremely embarrassing to, I guess, drop a lead like they did. So we'll see what their response is now when they go back home on the Gold Coast and take on the Rabbitohs, who themselves have had 2 straight losses. So we'll see if the Rabbitohs can bounce back into the form we know they can play in, and yeah, I guess just get a win. I guess that's what the aim should be for both sides, I should say. But going for the Titans team, David Fafita and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui have been named to play for now, and will be monitored after their game on Wednesday night, tomorrow night for Origin. Kieran Foran will be rested, saying, and the club said for Foran that he has suffered a ruptured ligament on his plantar plate, so another forward injury is never good to see. So that means Jane Campbell shifts from fullback to 5'8". Keno Kinney will start at fullback this time in his second game of NRL, and Sam Verrills has been named on the bench to return from a collarbone injury that has sidelined him since round 2. And Isaac Fa'asuamaleaui has been recalled onto the bench, and Olafina Khan-Pereira is also back in the team on the wing. And for the Rabbitohs, Latrell Mitchell's calf injury cost him an Origin berth and also sees him ruled out for Saturday's game against the Titans. So Blake Taaffe will start at fullback, and he retains his fullback position from last week. Cameron Murray and Jai Arrow have both been named to back up so far, and Liam Knight and Tallis Duncan drop out of the 17. Campbell Graham returns from a sternum injury that pushes Jed Cartwright to the reserves, and Richie Kenner has been come to the side and has replaced Tane Milne, who's been dropped from the team. So interesting change there by Demetriou. But as for who I'm tipping on Saturday, look, I think Seahawks will bounce back. I think the Rabbitohs will be ready to bounce back after 2 disappointing losses. Obviously, I've had players out, but this week I think, with guys like, I guess, I think with Murray and Cook will be ready for redemption after being dropped from the Blues team. I think them will be ready to go. So I think, Seahawks will be a bit too good. So I've got Seahawks to win here by, let's go, 8 points. First try scorer, Blake Taaffe. I think he'll have a big game at fullback against the Titans. On to the next game now. It is the Sharks taking the Broncos at PointsBet Stadium in Cronulla. 7:35 p.m. kickoff. And, this is a really good game because both these sides are just about top of the table, or in the top 4. And, this game does shape up to be a very entertaining game, and I cannot wait for it. I am really looking forward to this one. It should be a great game at Shark Park. First time the Broncos have played at Shark Park since 2019, and Herbie Farnworth made his debut in that game. So, a little stat for Tuesday afternoon. But going through both sides, for the Sharks, Nico Hines has been named and will be good to go, depending if he can back up from Origin, I guess. The return of Steve Talakai in the centres, which means there's no room for Connor Tracy, who drops back to the reserves. The interchange remains unchanged from last week, so that's really the only team changes of the Sharks there. As for the Broncos, Payne Haas, Patrick Carrigan, Reece Walsh, Thomas Flegler, and Selwyn Cobbo have been all named to play so far, but pending if they do end up pulling up on the Saturday there, which I don't believe all of them will, in my opinion. With the big 5 named to play so far, Corey Jensen and Kobe Hetherington have been moved to the bench. Tristan Saylor and Keenan Palacia are among the reserves. Dean Mariner is 18th man. And veteran winger Corey Oates is listed among the reserves as he needs to return from an injury. Who am I going to tip? I think because I don't trust every player to back up for the Broncos, I will tip the Sharks at home. But I think the Broncos were very gutsy last week against the Warriors. Like those sort of wins against the Warriors, without some of your best players, are wins that normally display a premiership winning side. So I'm not saying Broncos are that sort of side, but that's basically an example of winning games like that, and that shows you win games with your best players. Like that's a top tier side that can go for a premiership. So I don't know, but I think this week in Shark Park and Sharks having most of their team back, I have a feeling that they'll be a bit too good. So Sharks win by 4 points, and I'll go Talakai to score first in his return. On to the next game now. It is the Roosters taking on the Bulldogs at Industrial Group Stadium, which I don't like either because that's another name that doesn't sit well with me. Central Coast Stadium has always been the names that's been so famously said many times, and it's just a better way of saying Gosford Stadium in saying Central Coast Stadium. So don't like Industrial Group Stadium. But as for this game, looking at both sides, the Roosters have been in awful form so far. Don't know what's happened to them. In a real form slump at the moment. So I don't know where to go for them. But they got to be a lot better against the Bulldogs this Sunday. And as for the Bulldogs, themselves haven't been that great. But I suppose that winning against the Titans was a win that they needed. So we'll see if that confidence can be backed up into this game. But going through both sides for the Roosters. James Tedesco and Lindsay Collins have both been named to play so far, but got a first backup from Origin tomorrow night. And Jared Ria-Hargraves pectoral and Joey Manu ankle are set to return from injury, while Daniel Tupou hamstring has been named as 18th man. Manu starts at 6, Drew Hutchison moves to the bench, and while Matt Lodge goes to the bench to make way for JWH. Nat Butcher moves into the starting side for the suspended Victor Radley. And Brandon Smith is out with a thumb injury, so that's the Roosters' changes there. And for the Bulldogs, Tavita Pangai Jr. and Josh Adokar have been named in the extended squad and will be monitored as the week goes on after Origin tomorrow night. Blake Wilson will play his third NRL game in the starting winger position, which is good to see. So should Adokar not back up, Wilson will still start on the wing. Ryan Sutton gets the nod at prop, and he starts at prop, and Pangai Jr. has been rested. If Pangai Jr. doesn't back up, Ryan Sutton will keep his starting position, as I was supposed to say. And Josh Reynolds has been recalled onto the bench after he was 18th man against the Titans. My tip for this game, I really reckon that the Bulldogs will win this game. I think the Bulldogs might win. Look, I think if Roosters were playing as how they should have been, like in the top 4 by this time this year, or were winning a lot more games, I would have backed them. Obviously, they're a better side on paper, but I think form-wise, I don't feel too confident about backing them. So, and obviously the Bulldogs still struggle to score points and have their own issues as well, but I think they're a team that I'm a bit more confident backing. So, Bulldogs by, let's go, 8 points. And I think Jacob Kiraz might score first. I think Kiraz, will be in for a big game. Okay, on to the next game on Sunday now, and this is the main game, I'm assuming, at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. It is the Cowboys taking on the Storm, 4:05 p.m. And, both sides are in a bit of patchy form, although Storm have been better. I think they, lost in Townsville last year, probably will want to get a win this time in Townsville. And as for the Cowboys, look, we're a bit unlucky against the Eels, I thought, last week, which the game I was at. And, but look, in general, the Cowboys have been awful this year, and that's the honest truth. They're going to be a lot better than what they have been so far this year, and, they bounce back against the Storm this week. Have to wait and see. But as for the teams, Jason Tamalolo is listed among the reserves as he looks to return from an knee injury, so if he plays, that's huge. Jeremiah Nanai has been named on the bench as he returns from a 4-game suspension. Val Holmes, Murray Talangi, and Ruben Cotter are all listed among the reserves and will be monitored after the series opener. And Rowan's 18th man, Tom Dearden, returns to the Cowboys side at 5'8". And making his club debut for the Cowboys, former Raider Semi Valame has been named to make his club debut on the wing in place of Robert Derby. And for the Storm, Craig Bellamy has stuck with the same 17 that beat the Dolphins, but Munster and Grant will obviously be monitored for this game. They will play after Origin on Wednesday. My tip for this game, I will back Melbourne to win here. Should be way too strong and obviously a lot better at the moment. So Storm to win here by 16 points, I reckon. And I will go with first try scorer. Let's go. Will Warbrick, re-signed to 2026. I reckon he'll have a big game to score the first try. And on to the final game for Sunday at 6:15 p.m. at Bluebet Stadium. It is the Panthers taking on the Dragons at Bluebet Stadium, obviously. And yeah, this game is the final game of round 14. So, Panthers' form recently has been obviously terrific, as they are the benchmark of the competition. So, they'll be looking to, I guess, continue their winning run. And as for the Dragons, yeah, look, they're in a real struggle sort of state, I guess you can say. Yeah, I weren't terrible against the Dolphins, but just weren't good enough, and that's how they've been in most games, you know. In games, but just not good enough to win them, I suppose. But we'll see how they go in this one. I'm going through both sides. For the Panthers, Ivan Cleary has stuck with the same 17 that beat the Broncos in round 12. Obviously, guys like Cleary, Luai, Liam Martin, Stephen Crichton, Isaiah Yeo, and Brian Toto will all be monitored and will be tested if they are good to go for this one. And as for the Dragons, Ben Hunt has been named to play despite, I guess, playing tomorrow's night's State of Origin Game 1 game. So we'll see if he backs up. And other than that, that's the only change there for the Dragons. And James Sewer returns from a knee injury, and Billy Burns also comes into the pack. So Van Merck-Masila goes to the bench, and Jack Bird's been rested, and Mozemba has dropped back to 18th man, and Toby Cashin back to reserves. My tip for this game, it's pretty obvious who I'm going to go with. I think the Panthers at home should be way, way too strong for the Dragons. Yeah, especially if everyone backs up for the Panthers. It might be anything this game. So, Panthers win 13 plus. I'll go maybe by 20 points. And, yeah, if he plays, I reckon Stephen Crichton might score first. But that's my tips round 14 of the NRL. I'm going to go for my tips one more time. So, Friday night, Tigers, Raiders, got the Tigers. Warriors, Dolphins, got the Warriors. Titans, Rabbitohs, got the Souths. Sharks, Broncos, got the Sharks. Roosters, Bulldogs, got the Bulldogs. Cowboys, Storm, got the Storm. And lastly, the Panthers and the Dragons game got the Panthers. But that's my tips around 14 of the NRL. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And please go and comment your tips in the comment section down below.